What's up, guys? Jesse Jardine with Demigod Ascendancy. So today I'm going to start the first of many top 5 of forgotten gems that I really enjoy that no one I bring these bands up to seems to know about. So all of them are going to be pretty old school. A lot of my tastes are old school. I don't really like a lot of new shit. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So we're talking 90s death thrash. I haven't really heard a lot of recent death thrash. A lot of things that are called death thrash are in fact like crappy metalcore and deathcore and shit like that nowadays. Anything I hear called death thrash these days I'm very wary about. But we're going to go back to the cream of the crop in the early 90s when death metal was just coming out and people were blending it with the really aggressive earlier thrash. So it's a very subjective term. I'm sure a lot of people will think some of these bands are only thrash or only death metal or vice versa, but you know, it is what it is. It's just like with thrash and speed metal, like it's such a fine line. So in my opinion, all these bands qualify as death thrash though, and if you have a problem with that, well, you know where to go. So today we're going to start with Devastation, and my favorite album by them is Idolatry. So Devastation is a band that's really close to my heart. I really got into these guys in high school. Still one of the fucking best death thrash albums ever. 91. I was only 1 year old. Little baby Jardine, just getting her going. I will say their first album, Violent Termination, is probably like one of the weakest albums ever. So considering they like improved that much, I don't really know Signs of Life very much. Their second album, which might be kind of bad, but you know, whatever. Idolatry is pretty much all I've needed for about 10 years of listening to these guys. So highly recommend this album. Free Will is like one of the most classic riffs ever for me. Forsaken Hatred, Souls of Sacrifice, all amazing. Honestly, the whole album's really good. Highly recommended. It's really heavy. The vocals aren't really my thing as much. A lot of this death thrash I think is brought down by the boring delivery of the vocals, just like kind of like a monotone kind of yell the whole time. But the riffing is fucking catchy and groovy as fuck, and the soul is alright, nothing to write home about. But if you go on Metal Archives, you'll notice there is about 500 Devastations. It's just a fucking really heavy, fast, brutal record, and I highly recommend it. So part 2, we got actually a more recent band that I found. I can't believe no one ever showed me this. I've never shown this to anyone and had anyone be like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. So Chemical Breath. Their first album I like a lot, Fatal Exposure. I found it on YouTube, just randomly scrolling down the right, clicking on things, and wow, this band is from Belgium, and this album's 92, and it's like some of the best death thrash I've ever heard in my life. It's kind of funny, I just ordered both these albums from China for $27, which is weird because I've seen Fatal Exposure online for like $500 and I got both for $27, and I hadn't heard their second album before, and I listened to it recently, Values. What a pile of fucking shit that is, man. You ever like hear an album and you're like, well, that's why that band never went anywhere. It's like the most like pretentious, like noodly thrash, and they like completely like changed the vocals and ruined the vocals. Like,
you'll be surprised. What? The third of time.
Like the first album has fucking wicked vocals. I love that shit. Almost like a Chuck Schuldiner kind of leprosy thing. Really fucking technical riffing, but not pretentious. Like on the second album, it just gets pretentious as fuck. Like just like like there's no like riffing like Fatal Exposure is just fucking nuts. Highly recommended. The best song for me, Erased from Existence. Fucking crazy album. Highly recommended. So number 3, we have definitely one of my all-time favorite bands. This might be the best band on the list, I think, and I would say it's France's greatest export ever besides French fries. Some of you might say Gojira, but that shit's alright. You know, like, their first album is just Morbid Angel Worship. It is what it is. Mostly Enjoy the Violence is my jam from these fucking guys. Just so relentlessly angry and fast, and just fucking vocal delivery's crazy as fuck. Everything's catchy. Signs of the Decline, the third album's really fucking good too. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know the first album that much or anything past 2 and 3, but Enjoy the Violence just has like one of the coolest album covers ever. Just really raw and like fucking foaming at the mouth, like vocal style, with like really fast like thrash metal riffing with like some like death metal screams and some blast beats. Highly recommended. This is like one of my favorite albums ever. Definitely the opening track, Enjoy the Violence, one of the fucking best. Seas of Blood is probably one of the most brutal songs on that. My band's ex-guitar player lost Enjoy the Violence. Yeah, super cool. Moral of the story, don't lend your shit out. Next band, another one of my all-time favorite bands. You see how all my all-time favorite bands are pretty much death thrash? That's gonna be a ongoing thing. Ripping Corpse. Where can I even start? So this was a band made of Sean Kelly and Eric Rutan. So Eric Rutan before he went to Morbid Angel and then Hate Eternal. And then Sean Kelly and the rest of the guys, Brandon Thomas and everyone, went to Dim Mak, which is another one of my favorite bands. This band is really influential. It's pretty fun. You like look through any like old death metal or thrash metal, and what the band's wearing on the inside, they always have a Ripping Corpse shirt on. In fact, I just took off my Ripping Corpse shirt because it was dirty. But you know, wear dirty shit, whatever. So this album is, I would say, it's a little bit out there. Like a lot of these other bands are pretty straightforward, like straight ahead. But you know, like the opening track on this, Sweetness, like that's such a weird vocal delivery. It's like some of the best song titles ever. Chugging Pus, love that. Best song on the album for me is Seduction of the Innocent. Just fucking brutal as fuck. That album cover, amazing. One of my favorite ever. Yeah, just a really fucking cool, twisting album that launched the careers of two very, very influential guitar players. And finally, we have, definitely not my favorite, but still fucking awesome as fuck and highly well known, Solstice. Let's see, Solstice, yeah. So, yeah, this fucking album's heavy as fuck. It has a really cool cover of Suck My Dick by Carnivore, and anyone that knows me knows I love Carnivore and Type 1 Negative. Thanks to Blaze, I saw, dude. But yeah, just a fucking crushing album. A lot of people know this because Rob Barrett, after this album, went to Cannibal Corpse. Also, he did this album and then went to Cannibal Corpse for The Bleeding. It's pretty weird to go from like thrash, like more thrash, to like straight death metal. But anyways, yeah, fucking Solstice, one of the fucking heaviest albums ever. I would say my favorite on that is Aberration. The last song is a good starting place. I haven't listened to a lot past the first album, I'm not gonna lie, but the self-titled album is pretty much what they're known for. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. Look forward for more of these. Hope you didn't get too triggered. Hope you found out some new shit. And yeah, tune in next week for another top 5. Keep it tight, keep it right, keep it classy. Thanks, bye.